Thank you for stopping by Ballistic BBQ. On this video, I am going to be cooking up barbecue chicken from Love's Woodpit BBQ. Let's get going. All right, now I am actually recreating a video I did over 5 years ago, and it's Love's Woodpit BBQ recipe. It includes a sauce recipe. Love's was a chain, and I know there's going to be a reaction here. They actually had some pretty decent barbecue, and they were down here in the Southern California area for a few decades, and they went out of business, I want to say, in the early 90s. Over 5 years ago, I was looking for a recipe for their sauce, and I stumbled upon this forum. I became part of this forum, and ultimately, I ended up finding, just diligent, obsessive checking on the internet, I found a recipe printout on Love's letterhead, and it was to make copious amounts. It actually used a gallon of apple cider vinegar. So I reduced that recipe substantially. I posted it on that site, and I used it in my video. So that's what I'm doing here. So we're using 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. All right, now prepare yourself for this. You know, they say barbecue sauce, honestly, I think you'll agree this is more of a glaze. 3½ cups of brown sugar. 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. 2 tablespoons of onion powder. 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. 2 tablespoons of celery seed. 1 tablespoon of black pepper. 1 tablespoon of paprika. 2 tablespoons of pork lard. And 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of pickling spice. This is where I found pickling spice is a great seasoning for sauces. So we're going to go ahead and just start mixing this up. All right, we're taking to the stove top here. What I'm going to do is just bring it up to a boil. Once it starts to boil, I'll bring it down to a simmer. And it is boiling. Let's go ahead and reduce the heat down to a low. So basically what I'm going to do is simmer this 45 minutes to an hour, and I want it to thicken up, kind of, the consistency of a glaze. In the meantime, let's go outside and we'll get that Weber ready to smoke up this chicken. As I mentioned, I'm going to be using the Weber for this cook. I recently fielded a couple questions on how to run the Weber low and slow, so I'm going to show you my setup. Down the center of the kettle here, I have the GrillaQue, and basically what it is, it's a stainless steel reservoir that runs from end to end on the diameter here. It's filled with water, and what this is going to do is create like a thermal barrier from the food. I'm going to have the food on this side. I'm using lump charcoal on this cook, and as you can see, I have it pushed very tightly against the inner wall of the kettle, just halfway around the circumference here. Whenever I'm cooking on a grill like this, I like to prearrange the charcoal first, unlit, and then I light it with a torch. That way the charcoal's exactly how I want it to be for the job that I'm doing. So again, I'm lighting it with the torch, and you're going to see that I'll dig the torch kind of underneath the charcoal, because with lump, it'll pop. Those little flakes of embers will start popping off, and I've burned holes in shirts. So I've learned the hard way, learned through my mistakes. All right, as you can see, I now have a nice small burning section of charcoal here, and I can tell that it's going to continue burning, and that's when I'll pull the torch out. As far as the vents on the bottom of the kettle here, I have the camera set up so you can see. I have them open maybe 1/4 inch at the widest point, maybe 1/4 inch, probably a little bit narrower than 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead and put some wood on. I'm using hickory. I'll just put a little lump right over the burn there, put a little right over here, and a little chunk towards the end of the burn. So I like doing it this way. A lot of people like using, that snake burning it at one end and letting it go around to the other side, which is fine. It's very effective. I've done that as well. The logic that I use, and who knows, I may be wrong, is first of all, I like to start the cook as far away from the food as I can, and then also it's burning this way. So the way I look at it, just looking at the coal setup, you're getting a more even cook. It's not focused on one side, it's burning evenly around that circumference. So that's the logic I'm using. Let's go ahead and get the lid on. And I want the lid to be on the opposite side of where the fire is, where the coals are. I have the damper open just, a quarter of the way maybe, taking a temperature probe and inserting it so it's just dangling. It'll just dangle right where the food is. And the target temp for my cooker during this cook is going to start out at 250 degrees. I want the initial temp to set below that 250. Then I can just make fine adjustments to bring it up to that target temp. That's why I know it's going to be a stable temperature. All right, we are now at 250 degrees. And so what happened here was I put the lid on, got the thermometer probe in there, and it came up and locked in at 200. I let it sit there for a good 5 minutes before I made any adjustments. And I just started adjusting this upper damper here and incrementally brought it up to 250. We've been sitting here now for, again, a good 5 minutes, so I feel pretty comfortable that it's going to stay at 250. So let's get the chicken on. Now this chicken's just seasoned with salt and black pepper, nothing else. And I like to put it breast side away from the fire. Or we'll get that temperature probe back into the lid here. Again, we just want it dangling through this damper right above the food. We do not want it touching that chicken, however. Target temperature of the meat is 175 degrees at the thigh. I'm just going to let it roll at 250 for a while. Once I see a nice color developing, I'm going to crank up that temp so we can crisp up the skin. And just prior to pulling this, I'm going to glaze this with that sauce that we made. See you in a bit. All right, the internal temperature of that chicken just hit 150. I'll give you a peek. See, it's looking beautiful. The kettle has been running like a champ at 250. What I'm going to do now is crank that temperature up to right around 300 or so. So I'm going to open up the lower damper, just about halfway. All right, let's go ahead and put that lid back on the kettle. Again, damper over the meat. I'm going to crank the damper open about halfway or so. What I want to do is get the internal temperature of my Weber up to about 300 degrees. And my goal is to crisp up that skin just a little bit. If I kept this at 250 throughout the entire cook, I'd end up with some pretty rubbery skin. I don't like that. So again, target for the meat itself is 175 at the thigh. Once it gets really close to that 175, I'll baste it with that glaze and we'll finish the cook that way. See you in a bit. All right, we're a little over 3 hours into this cook. We just hit 170 interior on the chicken. It's time to glaze. This glaze smells good. All right, so going to allow that glaze to set up and allow the interior temperature of that thigh area to come up to about 175. So we're just a few degrees away from being done here. All right, it's been another 10, 15 minutes and this chicken is done. Smells amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off the grill, take it in, let it rest a little bit, and we'll slice it up, give it a try, meet you inside the house. All right, so it's rested. We are ready to try this out. I go with the breast, nice breast slice here. Oh, definitely juicy. Smells so good. I mean, the combination of that, the sauce with the smoke. This is such a good recipe. The chicken, I mean, this sauce is perfect on chicken. Perfect on chicken. I think next time, you know, I like using the lighter woods with poultry. All I had was hickory in the smaller chunks. I'd rather have used, you know, apple or pecan. Next time, definitely like apple's my favorite with chicken, I think. Anyway, guys, it's time for another beer mention here. Today I'm drinking it's a Karl Strauss. It's another San Diego beer. It's one of the more well-known breweries out here. This is Red Trolley Ale. Basically, it's an Irish red ale. And I picked this A because I like it. I mean, that's usually the reasoning, is just because I like it. It's a very crisp, I find it refreshing. But it's got kind of some like little bit slightly sour, fruity notes, I guess. I'm getting all uppity here, and then there's some caramely flavors. So I thought it would go perfect with the smoke and then also, you know, the sweetness of this sauce. That's why I picked it. And Red Trolley, it's called Red Trolley because we have a red trolley line here in San Diego. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.